The Tony nominations were announced this week, and here at Fresh Outlook, we are proud to say one of our former colleagues, Bill Timoney, is starring in All the Way with Bryan Cranston. The play is up for a Tony, so we're kind of pulling for that show here, but there's much more to talk about. Okay, so here's some of the folks that got some Tony nods. Neil Patrick Harris, Bryan Cranston, and Chris O'Dowd all earned Tony Award nominations on Tuesday, but Denzel Washington, Daniel Radcliffe, and Michelle Williams were among the high-profile snubs. So, what did you think about some of these folks that got some of these nominations?
Well, you know, the Tonys are so snooty. I mean, this is theater. You never know what they're going to do. And there's only like, what, 800 and something people who vote? Yeah. It's a small group.
Also demonstrates that success on the big screen or the small screen won't necessarily translate on Broadway.
Absolutely.
So great nod for Bryan Cranston for All the Way, which is a phenomenal play, but Denzel Washington and Daniel Radcliffe, even though they bring all that popularity to the Great White Way, not being recognized shows that theater, again, is different.
And I sort of think they like doing that. I think they like snubbing the movie stars.
I agree.
well, Bryan Cranston.
Because they can.
Yeah, but it's funny because I actually saw All the Way just last night. Fantastic play, and I actually saw our friend who was our news director here, not news director, he was our producer here at Ebru, so congratulations to him.
Definitely.
Well, this year's nominations took a much different path, however, with Broadway, as we just said, snubbing some of those top stars, and that was kind of something that you don't normally see in the Tonys, as you just said. Now, some of the folks the power stars that didn't get nominated, we told you, but A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder received the most nominations, 10, including Best Musical.
So I actually have the opposite reaction. I mean, I feel like sometimes you see a lot of these movies, Hollywood stars sort of try to flood the market at Broadway plays, get a lot of the nominations, and it's nice to see that people who are mainly Broadway actors are actually getting the Tony nominations, because they're not going to be getting the Oscar nominations. They're not going to, how many Emmys does Bryan Cranston have? So it's good to see that sort of the play actors are getting the Tony nominations. I
think it's the content too, All the Way being focused on LBJ's presidency, especially at this moment. So sometimes it's just the play, although I do agree with the larger point.
Absolutely. Well, some splashy shows, including Cabaret, Bullets Over Broadway, and Rocky, were shut out of nearly every major category. And that was something to see also. Rocky was
Please, enough already. I'm glad they were shut out. I mean, Rocky 500, enough already. I will not go see that show, forget it.
I actually heard the show was surprisingly good.
I don't care, I've heard the story.
I heard that too. I heard it was actually a really nice rendition of the...
But to be fair, I mean, even if it's great though, it is tread territory, I'll agree with that. Though the last Rocky movie was amazingly, it was really an amazing movie.
You mean the last one?
The Rocky Balboa, the last, not Rocky 5. No, the more recent one he came out with a few years ago, Rocky Balboa.
When he was in the restaurant.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I thought it was great.
I think that's really one of the best Rocky movies.
Me too. All right.
I hope you all enjoy the Broadway play. Let me know about it, because I'm not going.
And just a reminder, everyone, the Tonys are presented by the Broadway League and American Theater Wing. About 870 theater professionals vote, and the 2014 prizes will be handed out at Radio City Music Hall on June 8th. Hugh Jackman will host this year's award ceremony on CBS. Well, what's a week here on Fresh Outlook without following our favorite freakish mayor, Rob Ford of Toronto? Well, this week, the operatic story of rise and fall continues. Mr. Ford came from his obscurity as a suburban councilor to lead the country's biggest city. Now he is on the brink of losing it all and wants our sympathy after being caught smoking crack cocaine again.
I sympathize with him. I love Rob Ford, and you know what? He's going to make $1 gazillion with a reality show, so he'll be fine.
I do sympathize for him, because I think he's an addict in a tailspin, and it just becomes a point where it's like it almost, and I hate to be that killjoy, it just can't be funny anymore. I mean, this is a person with a serious, alcohol dependency leading to taking crack, horribly obese. I mean, it's like this is a person in serious trouble who seems to finally maybe be accepting the fact that he needs help. Hopefully.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, shades of Marion Barry, we thought that was a huge tragedy when we saw the fall of the D.C. mayor under similar circumstances. I don't know how Rob Ford's become a punchline, because I agree. These are pretty significant issues.
I agree. I just think that there were so many crazy stories with this that you couldn't help but report on it.
I think he'll be fine. I think he's a great guy. He's got an issue. He'll be just fine.
I mean, when he was on Jimmy Kimmel, that whole was funny. I think we're at a point where we have to start saying it's not going to be fine unless a real intervention happens.
He's done it himself, so good for him. I think we applaud that. He'll be fine.
Well, how many times have you lost your car in the airport?
Mia, every time.
I do. Every time I have to take pictures of my car. I have to take pictures of where I parked. I send it to people, and they're like, "What are you sending me this for?" Yes, I never know where I parked. Dee Dee has been with me many times. Well, there's a new Google search app that will help you locate your car, and that's certainly good news for people like me, but kind of crazy stuff now. I mean, just another crazy app that we could add.
They should call it the Mia app. That's a good one. But you know, this does happen. It's happened to all of us. Admit it, guys.
Yes, it has.
I mean, it's happened to me too. Not that much, because now, like on my smartphone, I just write down where I am. That's it.
I'm actually too paranoid. I'm too paranoid to let it happen, which is to say, like, I always, when I park my car, I'm obsessive about looking like this. But you know, it's like, okay, Google has an app that's gonna know where your car is. It's like, I feel like it's almost from the top of the show to the end. Private Big Brother. I mean,
are they going to come steal your car? Google could come steal your car.
No, they just want to know where I am.
Too much information for me, for Google to have, and it's, you know, it's a great app in some sense for those of us that can't keep it straight and could use the help.
Why are you looking at me?
I'm guilty too. The Mr. Magoo moments of, you know, fumbling around, but at the end of the day, I am concerned about, you know, just the amount of information that Google is collecting, and it's in this cloud, and so great, but privacy concerns worry me.
I agree. I wouldn't do it.
You know, we're going from 2014 to 1984. I mean, seriously,
yeah,
Google.
Agreed.
You know, Google is private Big Brother. They know all about us.
Yeah, no, it's a little disconcerting at times, but still, I may have to get that app. Missing in action after all. So. And what will the biggest box office hit of all time be? Well, it might be Star Wars 7. Now, after all, the 6 Star Wars films have grossed more than $2 billion domestically. Let's not forget all the merchandise, and let's not forget about the household names that it made out of Darth Vader, Han Solo, and of course Luke Skywalker. What do you think about seeing all those older actors coming together and kind of like for this reunion of sorts?
I'm just comfortable in the knowledge that George Lucas has absolutely nothing to do with the production of this movie. Otherwise, I'd be saying, like, it's going to be bad and let's all move on. But JJ,
why would you say that? You think he does a bad job?
George Lucas?
Yeah.
Did you see the prequels? Did you see
Indiana Jones? I like them all.
Indiana really? Phantom Menace? Jar Jar? Well, that's Empire Strikes Back, not the prequels, not the 4th Indiana Jones, which was also a horrible mess.
That's a terrible movie.
But you know,
it's not. I like it too.
JJ Abrams. You know, he's done well with the Star Trek movies. I'm looking forward to these.
Interesting moment for us, because I think they're looking at the Avengers franchise and saying, how can we capitalize on the building storylines, looking at individual plot characters, maybe even some of the villains. So it's an interesting idea. Will they execute? I'm worried.
No way. You guys are such spoil sports. The Force is with us. It's great. The Star Wars is back.
Well, they're hoping the Force is with them.
JJ Abrams is fantastic.
Dee, if you think that Phantom Menace was a good movie, then you have nothing to worry about. It will completely hit your expectations.
I know you hate Jar Jar Binks. You're hating on him.
I mean, the whole Phantom Menace, terrible.
Can you imagine, though? I mean, seriously, the folks, the younger actors like Harrison Ford, when they got on board with this, they never knew that they were going to be into this $1 billion. Yeah, he was cutting down trees.
Yeah, I mean, so that's. I mean, look, he's a legend still. It's amazing.
Yeah. And it all depends on how they do this reboot in terms of these older actors, because in the case of Harrison Ford, he's so popular now and has this huge body of work, coming off a phenomenal performance as Branch Rickey last year in 42. It's going to be tough to see him reprise this role unless they're very careful in how they craft the story.
Absolutely.
I think it's a ringer.
I do think that you're right. I think the other things like Avengers, and what's the other one?
Well, I'm really looking forward to the new X-Men movie. I mean, that looks like it's going to be very, very good. So.
But if they can build those franchises based on that,
Justice League, is that your thing?
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm also shaky on the Justice League.
They'll buy the stuff that goes in.
Well, of course they're going to.
Only if it's good.
But
I still my Star Wars lunchbox.
I mean, they have a built-in market. That's not what we're talking about. Of course they're going to make money, but will the movie be good?
Yes, it will be.
I think that they're going to make this a pretty good one. I think it'll probably be the last one as well. But that's just a prediction.
I think this will be the last one with that original cast. I doubt they're coming back for anything beyond this.
Tell Rocky that. Star Wars will end up on Broadway.
Oh yeah. I mean, Disney did not buy this franchise to make one movie and be done. No, they're going to play this universe for all they can.
Well, if Star Wars is on Broadway, I will go to that one. And you can go too. You come back from Illinois and go with us.
If the reviews are good, I'll be there. If the reviews are good, though, I probably couldn't afford it.
Only if it's a musical.
That's right.
Yeah, true.
All right, we've got one last thing we want to get your insights on this, Dr. McCoy. Condoleeza Rice, she's not going to be the commencement speaker, of course, in the next couple of weeks. Your thoughts on that?
You know, I think it's unfortunate. I think from more than anything else from an etiquette standpoint. You know, when you offer an invitation, you give that person respect. And I respect, I think this last time we talked about this in the show, I respect students, some of whom I actually have taught, who are expressing their political views on the Iraq War and things like that. They have the right to do that, and I encourage them to do that. But someone of that stature, when they come, give them respect. You shouldn't rescind an invitation. She handled this gracefully and say, well, I decided I didn't want to take away from the ceremonies, but I think it's unfortunate.
She's a historic figure. Dr. Williams.
We train students to think critically. I think it was wonderful that the students said that we don't believe that Condoleeza Rice represents the values of this institution, an urban institution with a population that's very diverse. We disagree with the policies of waterboarding and terror and torture that we saw coming out of the administration, which Condoleeza Rice co-signed on. And we demand the right to express our displeasure with her as a selection as our commencement speaker. So in that sense, I thought it was wonderful. I thought the secretary handled it well by simply bowing out, not wanting to be a distraction for these students. But I think this is ultimately what we train students to do, to question and to demand that their interest and their voices be heard.
But does it set a dangerous precedent moving forward? That's my whole question.
Well, I thought you were supposed to learn something at university. Aren't you supposed to learn things and listen to people you might not agree with? I mean, this woman is wonderful, and she is so smart and so gracious. And to do this, I think it was so terrible.
I think it was more a moratorium on the policies that we saw come out of the administration and that have been continued by Obama, to be fair, in terms of drones. And here are these students who are saying, look, we, in this urban campus, in this environment, we know what this means, and we want Condoleeza Rice and others to know. And I think this is participatory democracy.
But I think
sharing your voice.
But again, and don't invite her. And don't, you know,
but again, does it set a dangerous precedent? I mean, just because you don't like somebody and all of a sudden you get a social media movement going around it, does that mean you have future commencement speakers that are going to be?
I don't know about Obama, but I'd go here and speak. I'd be honored to have the president speak.
You've always had protests outside universities
for
students who are, but social media, and I love that you made that point, really changes the game, because really we're seeing this now with Chris Christie, who's invited to speak at Rowan University. Teachers in the state are saying we don't believe he deserves an honorary degree because we believe that his policies have been anathema to education. So they have access to social media. Why not use that social media to make themselves heard? I think that's a good thing.
And my concern is now
we're going to have to say goodbye to everybody. We thank you so much, Dr. McCoy, Dr. Williams, and of course Dee Dee. That's all we have time for this week on Fresh Outlook. I'm Nia Toski. As always, it's great to have your company. Have a great week, and we'll see you back here next week.